watching The Poet and the Colonel with hosts Beverly Reed Scott and Colonel Eugene Scott. Stay tuned. Welcome to our program. We had listed. Oh, you want to say something, Colonel?
Hello.
So we were going to start off talking about the coronavirus, but because of the breaking news and the two men being arrested and charged with murder and aggravated assault for the February shooting of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, I thought that maybe I would do just the piece on Mother's Day first, and then we'll go into our discussion, if that's all right with you, Colonel. I'm doing poetry.
Okay.
And so there. Let's have a moment of calm and quiet for Miss Wanda Cooper Jones, mother of Ahmaud. Just a couple quotes, but we'll take this moment. And all who loved him, and us. We've been really impacted by this, as if the world isn't impacted enough. But it seems the Queen may be saying all of it has to come from under the rug. All of it. She said, I don't think I'll ever be in a mental state where I can actually watch the video. I had others that watched it, that shared what they saw, and that just was enough, she said. And then in the ABC piece, the last sentence in the report, well, last three, because they tell us that Ahmaud would have turned 26 years old on Friday. Cooper Jones described her late son as humble, kind, well-mannered, and beloved by his family and peers. Ahmaud didn't deserve to go the way that he went. No one deserves to go the way that he went. Because we are talking about mothers, earlier in the week, we learned that the first woman to die of COVID-19 in a New York prison was a black woman. And there was an article about her in the newrepublic.com. And it talked about her humanity. And part of the story described that her mother had been murdered when they were very young, and it may be 11 children or 16, I'm not certain right at this moment, that she left behind. And Lulu was kind of in the middle of the children. She suffered a great deal during her life. She had been through many, many traumas and suffered from the disease of addiction. And so you know the story of how they are mishandling the incarceration of men and women around the country during this pandemic. But when I read Lulu's story, it just struck me, as some things do, that involve the horrible treatment of women. And so I thought about Lulu because one of her sisters said Lulu, had almost died so many different times, and they were fighting like hell to get her released because of her age, and she had all kinds of medical issues. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do that. Lulu, the cat, the Christ. Lulu had 9 lives. One of them was mine. Lulu the cat, Lulu the Christ. Look at Lulu's eyes. Lulu had 8 lives. Then she grabbed the knife. Lulu the fool, she told the truth. Lulu could have lied. Lulu had 7 lives, but she wasn't lucky. Lulu been hurt so many times, Lulu's eyes done forgot to cry. Lulu had 6 lives. She had to get away. Lulu had no money down. Lulu lay her body round. Lulu had 5 lives. She still knew how to love. Lulu love was hard and rough. Lulu bit a life too tough. Lulu had 4 lives and hustled for corners. Lulu licked the bottom class. Lulu longed for that rod and staff. Lulu had 3 lives. She used to be a girl. Lulu couldn't save herself. Lulu put the girl on the shelf. Lulu had 2 lives. One dreamed, one denied. Lulu love still survived. Lulu love is alkaline. Lulu had 1 life, just like me and you. Lulu rode the scary rides. Lulu tried. Lulu has no life, but you and I are here. Lulu's been taken by the queen. Lulu has no fear. Lulu died. So I wrote that on the 4th after reading her story, and synchronicity, divine order. Her family found the poem, and so they were able to read it and were appreciative. So, happy Mother's Day, early Happy Mother's Day. I led with some pretty heavy Mother's Day stories, but we're going to lead like that. We're going to acknowledge and own the difficulty involved in being a mother, the fears, the nights you can't sleep and you steady checking the phone and texting and looking for somebody and wondering, and was that guy a nice guy she was with, and was that guy a dealer who he left out with, and how you gonna get those gym shoes, or how you gonna pay for their college, and oh look, they walking, and did he say mama? No, he said daddy. No, he said mama. We have so many paths, this thing called being a mother, so many paths and so many roads. And so I celebrate you if, you're still in your right mind. Oh my goodness. And to those mothers who are currently under quarantine with small children, I send love and light. And so this poem is a poem that Maya Angelou wrote. It's called Mother, A Cradle to Hold Me. And so, of course, there's beauty and light and love in this poem. And this is for all of us who answer to the call of mama, mommy, mom, whatever, however, It's funny how they come to choose what they call you. It is true, I was created in you, and God bless me. My mother, may she rest in peace, Bobby Rosary. It is true, I was created in you. It is also true that you were created in me and for me. I owned your voice. It was shaped and tuned to soothe me. Your arms were molded into a cradle to hold me, rock me. The scent of your body was the air, perfumed for me to breathe. Mother, during those early dearest days, I did not dare dream that you had a large life, which included me, for I had a life which was only you. Time passed steadily and drew us apart. I was unwilling. I feared if I let you go, you would leave me eternally. You smiled at my fears, saying, I could not stay on your lap forever. That one day you would have to stand. And where would I be? You smiled again. I did not. Without warning, you left me. But you returned immediately. You left again and returned. I admit, quickly. But relief did not rest with me easily. You left again, but again returned. You left again, but again returned. Each time you re-entered my world, you brought assurance. Slowly I gained confidence. You thought you know me, but I did know you. You thought you were watching me, but I did hold you securely in my sight. Recording every moment, memorizing your smiles, tracing your frowns. In your absence, I rehearsed you. Did you do that? Put your mother makeup on and mess with her stuff? The way you had of singing on a breeze while a sob lay at the root of your song. The way you posed your head so that the light could caress your face. When you put your fingers on my hand and your hand on my arm. I was blessed with a sense of health, of strength, and very good fortune. You were always the heart of happiness to me, bringing nuggets of glee, sweets of open laughter. I loved you even during the years when you knew nothing and I knew everything. I loved you still, condescendingly, of course. From my high perch of teenage wisdom, I spoke sharply of you often. She get on my nerves. She make me sick. Because you were slow to understand. I grew older and was stunned to find how much knowledge you had gleaned, and so quickly. Mother, I have learned enough now to know I have learned nearly nothing. On this day, when mothers are being honored, let me thank you that my selfishness, ignorance, and mockery did not bring you to discard me like a broken doll, which had lost its favor. I thank you that you still find something in me to cherish, to admire, to love. I thank you, Mother. I love you. Isn't that a beautiful poem? It's Mother, A Cradle to Hold Me by Maya Angelou.
You know, this is a special day for me, Mother's Day. I hold all mothers in the highest esteem, and it may be because of I was raised by all these women. I had my mother, my aunt, who was almost like another mother to me,
Aunt Dottie.
Aunt Dottie, Lydia's mother.
Dr. Patton, are you there?
And I had a grandmother and her sister, my great aunt. my great aunt was there in the house, and their mother, who was my great grandmother. So all these beautiful women influenced my life at some time or another. And that may be why I have this great respect and honor for all mothers and their contribution that they make to the world.
You know, that was one of the things that I really loved about Colonel when we first met and were dating and stuff, because I was a single mother with 5 kids, and that is a hella burden to bear in terms of how people judge you. Me and my kids were the Cheerios. You know, we understood it was a matrilineal household, but in the world, you know, my position was not as valued, you know, because of that status, right? And then when I told you I had 5 kids, he thought that was the most wonderful thing. He thought it was so great. Why do you think, you know, women with multiple children are delightful?
Well, I think women with
Maybe.
children, period, delightful, because that's the greatest contribution that you can make in one's lifetime, whether you have 1 or 10. And only you can do that. The men can't make that kind of a contribution and have that kind of a bond with their children. So it's something, not only is it mystical, but it probably is a divine blessing. And I just think it's very important as we try to maneuver through this complex and complicated world.
Uh, when we were first dating, I had this big long apartment that had all these windows on the side of the building. So when he would pull up, Colonel is the kind of courting man, and he doesn't talk a lot, but he looks around and makes assessments. And so when he would come, he'd always have these bags of groceries and a bucket of KFC. And the kids would see him pulling up in the car, and because they were in their different rooms and I was all the way in the front of the house, you could hear like a chain going down. Here comes the Colonel. The Colonel is coming. Colonel here. Colonel. Then you hear running, knock on my door. My Colonel here. They would be so excited. And you know, they always had their friends over, and I would be trying to help him. What'd you say about chicken?
Yeah, you can divide a chicken, and feed many people with it, but that's what you do. So
Yeah.
that's good. I also wanted to comment on the reading of the incident that happened in.
With the Ahmaud Arbery, and
Was it-
I guess I call everything down south. But let me get my facts. I'm sorry, somebody can text it into the comments.
the shooting.
Yeah, in the Georgia on my mind, Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
Right, it was down in southeastern Georgia,
Yeah.
near Brunswick.
Glenn County.
Yeah, that's where Brunswick is located. But the only point I wanted to make is that this is not new, because it goes all the way back to the Scottsboro Boys and Emmett Till, and I could go on and on and on and identify young black men that have been lynched and murdered by white Americans.
Yeah, having 2 sons myself, it's a precarious life to be black, in America. But to be black and young and male, that's a whole nother story. And, for those of you who mother or in whatever way, and you have sons, I know that you probably really, feel Miss Cooper's loss, Cooper Jones's loss, and grateful not to have the experience. But it's not about how much money you have. When Barack was president and they wanted to arrest the Henry Louis Gates.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a sickness in this country that we will address during this time of the coronavirus, because everything all over the world is being pulled out from under the rug. There is nowhere to go. There is no more spin. There's nothing. It's clear. And unless we come together in a spirit of love, cooperation, and support, nobody said that humans had to be here. Earth is not going anywhere. I mean, this planet was tight before we ever came to consciousness, or whatever your belief system about our beginning. So I think that we get it confused when we think that our accomplishments are so great that we can get away with murder and the mistreatment of other beings and not have any repercussions. I guess if you're white, male, and wealthy, you may get confused. I could understand how you could get confused and think that your ideas are the top of the food chain. But I assure you, the day has come. It's not coming, it's here. And everybody will be brought to bear on what have you contributed to this planet and the beings on it that has allowed it to thrive, and what have you contributed on this planet that causes it to want to die. It's no more getting around it and using wordplay and all the tools that you use to confuse and confound people that are just trying to be and to live and to love and have their families. And people want to work. Working is a part of our nature. You want to toil over something and create, and contribute to the community, so all these lies and all these mistruths, that it's just no more use for them, and nobody's gonna accept it. And we don't have to, I'm not gonna tell us how to, do this, but I do believe that we won't even require a war, because it seems to me that the people at the top are starting to tear down themselves in the greed, and you want to hurry up and reopen. And I'm not going to the restaurant. I don't give a damn if every store is open in America. I will be gloved, masked, and doing only essential tasks. And most of us, I think, will support that and will do that. Don't you think?
Oh yeah. It's sometimes it takes calamities or pandemics to bring about lasting change. I'm not asking for a lot, but there are two things I'd like to see come out of this calamity. And they're simple. One is to provide a meaningful health care program for all. And I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to get into how you do that. but all the other countries of the world, major countries, have health care for all of their citizens. And we, being the richest country, can certainly provide health care. The second thing I would like to see, and it's a tragedy, is a living wage for all working people. No one should leave their house to make the federal
Was it $7?
$7, maybe
Or
$7.50 or something. But that's disgraceful for a country like ours to say that we would pay our citizens that kind of money. But I think those two things are going to change.
Yeah.
And I really hope they do, to give some sense of decency and equity to all our citizens.
Right, because like, what else is the purpose? We
Right.
got bamboozled. As maybe for this round, this isn't the first time, but I'm thinking about the '80s when Michael Douglas was in that movie Wall Street or
Yeah.
whatever, because they use film and all this to direct and kind of guide our consciousness for whatever they're up to next. But then greed just became the thing, like die with the most toys, and we all thought that must be the way. They look so happy and they having such a fantastic time. And I think we lost a whole lot when we started to go down that road and glorify and deify celebrity, wealthy people, so that in our spirit, we go to work for $7. Or remember, they moved the jobs out of the cities way out into suburbs where when I was coming up, you could get a job in the summertime if you were in high school and stuff like that. But these kids don't even have a way to get to Dunville or wherever the hell they have taken all the kind of jobs you can get without a whole lot of training. And so when we look at our kids, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the kids being out at the parties and the girls that went to see Miss Laurie as she was going in the house and stuff. But why do you think, how did the kids get this angry, violent, and suicidal? Because it is some suicidal ideation in there.
Well, you and I don't particularly agree on individual responsibility. I'm not cutting these kids a whole lot of slack, because I wouldn't cut a whole lot of slack. I had to get it done. And there's a lot of people that have sacrificed to help kids with different programs and mentoring, and this has been going on for many, many years. But our kids must have some self and individual responsibility.
We didn't. First of all, we haven't had a continuum of information and education that we pass from generation to generation, because we came through such hell. Our origin story, as they tell it, is slavery. I know when I was a kid, I didn't even know what slavery meant. Like, we were like, if I had been a slave, I'd have took that hoe, and I just foolishness. So we don't have a cultural foundation based on information, education, and
Now, I could never agree with that.
well, that's true, Gene. How you think? Where did they get it? Where would it come? It wasn't even taught in the books. Where did it get?
I was raised in a house where my great grandmother was a slave,
Okay.
so she knew all the issues of slavery. But that was not an excuse.
No, but when you graduated college and went into the military, and others began to enter, you entered those spaces, right? How much of your culture did you have to sacrifice in order to become Colonel Scott?
Yeah, but that's another issue.
No, it's not. It's the same story.
That's another issue for
Because
another
when
time
you
and
do
place.
that, I'm just saying, when you do that, and not just you, but people want to be upwardly mobile, but you know that it's a price you have to pay when you go into those spaces, and you have to surrender a lot of your culture.
I understand that.
In order to do that.
But
So who was going to be telling the people
There's
that
an
were left
element
behind?
of individual responsibility that is missing. And that is your responsibility to reach out and grab that. You don't have to be told and taught
But what
that.
if you don't even know that that's something that's available to you? Because everywhere you look and where you get your information, all you see is if you black, stay back. You don't see. So I think that although, I love Dr. King, but I do think that the language that went into the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act was not particular to the experience of black people. It was, his dream that we'd all be getting together, and that's fine. But before we all get together, let's make the group that you stoning and shooting and redlining and doing everything you can to hold back.
Maybe the success of our young people will take a combination. You worry about the redlining and the slavery legacy. Mm-hmm. I'm concerned about that, but I'm more concerned about individuals taking it upon themselves to get off of their butts and get to moving.
Okay, where they gonna move to? Where they gonna get off their butt and move to? So you're saying
you have to figure all that out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
all
the,
right.
if I got to figure that out for you, then you're not ready to move to the next step. Some of this you have to figure out.
And everybody is not gonna move to the next step.
That's true.
And that's why what you said earlier about a living wage for people that can get to that first next step. And also a universal basic income, because everybody is not going to be able to go. But nobody should be feeling like nothing is available to them, and that they are hunted, and that they are despised for what? At this time, with all the information that we know, and we know all, rich people send their kids to college, and I wonder how spiders, why they have 4 legs and they go horizontal and not one here and one down there. Well, they can go to school and they can just study spiders and go out and get a job and be a preeminent spider expert and write books about spiders and have all kind of incomes and stuff like that. And that's not something that's readily available to
we will
poor people.
Agree to disagree.
Okay, let's move right along.
I'm not going to buy into that. What's
Gene,
available
please.
for poor people.
Gene.
I know what's available. I've lived it and seen it, and I know what you have to do to get to the next step. Everybody doesn't have to get up to go to college and do all that, but they do have to get up their butts and get out of that house at 7 or 6 or whatever time it is and do something. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and I like that. I like that. Clean up your block. You
Right,
can do
whatever.
that. Because if we operate off the universal principles and not just the ones that we, the people, the people, put down in the Constitution, that work is it's a right, and it's a force that creates a response in the universe. Like what you put out returns to you. So
you remember when Senator Durbin came up to the office and he was telling me about some of the people that lived over in the CHA didn't have the right work ethic. And then I turned to him and said, who do you think built this country?
Right.
You know, what kind of, they're the ones that built it. So that work ethic was there. Now, how it got lost, that's another story. But we were the ones getting up at
Full day in the morning.
right,
Yes,
and
yes,
working
yes.
all day. So I made it clear for him, don't tell me about work ethic.
Yeah. So okay. Well, I
So I'm
understand.
not disagreeing with you, but we,
initiative.
yeah,
it
it
ha-
plays a big part of
Okay.
it.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
And since you brought up CHA, let me just remind you of the editorial board meeting we had when Sharon Gilliam was. Well, first of all, when they started the plan for transformation, there are no more buildings, and we don't know where the people are, and a lot of them are the ones that you see on the news. That CHA plan for transformation, but they had came up because what they do is create a drama. Everybody was scared of crack at the time, and oh, the crack babies, and they leaving their babies in the street, and the people is eating their young. All that lies they told, and like they don't do with the opioid crisis, but that was a part of the motivation to sell that idea to the community about tearing down those CHA homes. And so we were having that editorial board meeting and they had just started zero tolerance. Right, zero tolerance, that's what they called it. Yeah, no tolerance whatsoever. If you have marijuana, if you, whatever, they had all these rules you had to now follow and stuff. If your 16-year-old grandson was living with you in your apartment that you've lived in all of your life, and he got caught by the police with drugs or drugs planted, whatever the situation is, and caught a case, grandma had to move. And I asked this, was she the chairman of the board at the time?
Yes.
I said, why would you punish this woman who is doing the best she can and raising her kids and her kids' kids, and because he gets in trouble, grandmother has to leave? And she said, grandma has to go. Just like that. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know what. And we have been, Chicago has been traumatized by the tearing down of the State Street corridor. It was one of the biggest tragedies. I remember the day that the last building in Robert Taylor Homes was going down, and we were out there covering it for the Defender, and Eitan was he covered CHA,
Yes.
right? Yeah, Eitan Mikaeli wrote the book, The Defender. It was one of the saddest days. They didn't start giving out housing vouchers initially. People were just put out, and they had no tracking system. So when the people protested, many just fell through the cracks. And so a lot of the people that are in Chicago that got no good neighbor training, that got no refugee training, that's what they were, that got no training, were left to their own devices. And that is a traumatizing thing, certain to cause mental health issues, and the mental health, that's under your whole medical care for all, But okay, let me bring it back in. I'm getting too heavy.
Yeah. No, your point is well taken. For some reason, I felt like emphasizing individual responsibility, and I'm not a Bill Cosby or somebody, because I've understood the struggle.
Ooh.
I've lived the struggle, all of my life, so I certainly wouldn't be insensitive to the needs of working class people, because that's how I grew up, seeing working class people. But there's just a little something that these young people have got to put into this equation themselves and from themselves to make this work. I don't want CHA to give me anything, no buildings, no nothing. Just give me enough money. When I work a honest day's work, give me an honest day's pay, and I'll go out and get a place to stay. But they can't continue to pay these people like they're paying them. They've got to share some of this wealth.
Right. It's crazy somebody
It's insane.
has the what Bezos has in Zuckerberg, and it has nothing to do with hating on somebody for getting their money or anything like that. But you have to realize by now, and I think our Queen Corona sweeping her skirts around is really just removing the dust, and we're seeing really clear pictures like this doesn't make sense. This is insane the way that we have been living as human beings.
And I'm going to add one more thing, because Barack
I was going to say.
Yeah, Barack wouldn't implement the alphabet programs and bring the CDC, CCC, and some of these other job programs for the entire community.
And I remember that it was kind of, even with the higher ups, kind of was expected, because they put him on Time magazine dressed as FDR. So who, initiated the program in the 40s and 50s? WPA?
No, you got to go back before. It came after the Great Depression, so you're talking about 30s and 40s.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when those programs started, but they lasted for many years.
Yeah,
they taught skills.
And they went and they lived in the camps and learned all these skills, and they were paid, and it did build and sustain the economy and the country. So Gene was saying when Barack was making that decision that he made, and we saw that Time magazine, he just knew it. But when my heart dropped into my stomach was a press conference that he had. And the last reporter to ask a question was a young black man from New York City. And he said, the unemployment rate for young black males is 26%, much higher than it is for anybody else. What specifically are you going to do to help that situation? And Barack said, the rising tide floats all boats. And I cried. I cried.
If you got a hole in your boat.
You ain't got no damn boat. What the hell?
Yeah.
And then he wound up going with rescuing those companies that were too big to fail. And
the reason I bring this up,
because y'all know
Trump,
we don't have
somebody has got to find these job skills training programs for not only young black people but young Americans. Many of them other Americans are displaced out of the job system.
And the people in the plants, they got 700 people up lined up next to each other, chopping the ears off of pigs and passing it down. They chopped the feet and all this craziness. It's
they made
insane.
Me not want to eat anymore.
Right, they ain't got to worry about it. Because we don't want their meat. So the animals are going to get some relief out of this situation. I mean, it's just really a lot of interconnected moving parts to this story of Queen Corona entering, the earth with her COVID-19. But, okay, you guys, I think
you better
we're going to let it go. I don't even know what time it is. How long we've been harassing you all. But at any rate, just some thoughts from the poet and the colonel. And again, a happy Mother's Day to those of you who claim that honor.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day, ladies.
And men who are...
Yeah, I don't know anything about men.
Okay, all right.
Men on
Bye.